Hello, my name's Andrew Brooks. Welcome to my YouTube channel. This video is all about these exciting new remixes of the Red and Blue album and what I think of them. Hello, and thank you once again for joining me on my YouTube channel. Thank you for all the new subscribers. Big thumbs up. And if you really like what you're seeing, please subscribe. All you need to do is just click down here and you'll hear of any new videos of mine that come out. If you like what I'm doing, give us a thumbs up. It all helps with this algorithm that's out there. Enough of all that. Anyway, this video, as I said, is all about these exciting new remixed albums, remixed versions of the Red and Blue album. And as you can see behind me, they've been out many times before. But these ones came out on the 10th of November 2023. And they came out 1 week after the last ever Beatles single came out. So I thought I did the reviews on the last ever Beatles single. So why not do them on the Red and Blue album as well? So as I said, originally they came out, and these ones up here came out in April 1973, and it was in response, and it was Apple's response to a bootleg that had came out called Alpha Omega Volumes 1 and 2, The Story of the Beatles. Now, just to go back a little bit in history, Alan Klein was in charge of Apple, the Beatles sort of management and business, and he didn't like these bootlegs come out. So in his response was, let's put out a best of the Beatles set. And it killed that bootleg dead, because obviously who's going to buy an inferior copy of the same stuff? However, saying that, the Alpha Omega or Omega, depending on which country you're in, they fetch quite a bit of money these days. I don't think I've ever seen one for sale in the UK, that's for sure. The biggest complaint, it seems, of the original issues was the lack of Revolver tracks on the Red album. And it seems a bit odd these days, because if you was to ask a Beatles fan, give me your top 5 Beatles album, I reckon Revolver would certainly be in the top 3, certainly top 5. But yeah, the lack of the songs from this album. Now, my only thought, and it is my thought only, there's no hard or fast evidence to this, but my thought is it's to do with the American and the UK issues. Obviously, they had different tracks on the American one. They used to nick tracks off of the Beatles albums from the UK, put them together with some singles and make up some hideous, monster album. They butchered it up, as the Butcher cover relates to. Yeah, and all I can think of is that, when they were compiling these, they were thinking, well, yesterday and today didn't come out in the UK, but it's got these tracks on, so they didn't include it. That's only my summation. I may be totally wrong, but yeah, it doesn't excuse the omission of tracks like I'm Only Sleeping and Tomorrow Never Knows, from the Red album, and with the Blue album, it's missing iconic tracks like Hey Bulldog from Yellow Submarine, and lots of tracks from the White Album. I think there was only 3 White Album tracks included in this set, which, when you think of how many songs are on that double album, the Beatles, they had plenty to choose from. However, saying that, you got to think it's 4 LPs, and many fan favourite songs had to be omitted. They could not put everyone's favourite on there. The old saying, you can't please everyone all of the time, or most of the people some of the time, or whatever it is, that springs to mind, because you couldn't put everything on. You may as well just put out a massive box set of all the albums, and which they have done. These LPs were reissued over the years. These are probably original ones here from my collection, going through to some late issues there from the 80s. As you can see behind me here, these are the CD issues which we got in the 90s. However, October 2010, the Red and the Blue album got remastered. So all the tracks got remastered, reworked as best they could of that technology. Weren't remixed, but just cleaned up. And here they are here. They were reissued again on coloured vinyl. So you've got the red and the blue coloured vinyl ones here. And so that's the October 2010 reissues. They came with a booklet, you know, expanded sleeve notes, and even some photos. Fantastic. So on the subject of photos, let's take a look at the album covers. So here we have the Red album, and as you can see, it's got the younger Beatles looking over the balcony at EMI House. The photographer was Angus McBean, and he took many of these photos in that day, some of which have been used for sort of EP sleeves and picture sleeves of some singles or whatever, and they are quite widely available. Now the later photos were sort of scheduled to be used on the scrapped Get Back album, which obviously came out later with the Let It Be box set, and you can see it in there in the vinyl box. Yeah, it was scrapped, and obviously these pictures were languishing around. And really, when you look at the Red album and the Blue album cover shots, they actually work really well together. It's almost as if fate had ordained them that they would not use the latter ones for the Get Back cover, because Get Back never came out, but for the Red and the Blue, they're perfect. Young Beatles and older Beatles. Now, on the subject of the balcony rail, which they're leaning over in both sets of photos, obviously EMI House has now been demolished and rebuilt as something else. EMI has since been sold off. I think it's now part of Universal. But EMI were based out in Shepherd's Bush, and I do know that that balcony was taken from EMI House in London, Manchester Square, where it was when these pictures were taken, and then moved and installed in the new EMI offices at Shepherd's Bush on Brook Green. They have since closed down. Interesting fact about Brook Green, EMI there, the pillars out the front were made of vinyl records. When you went along, you could just see they were stacks and stacks of records, like as pillars holding the building up. Anyway, I digress. EMI since been sold to Universal or whoever, and that particular building is now been removed, knocked down. It's certainly not EMI anymore. There's some speculation as to what happened to the railing. Now, I did read somewhere that people think that Universal now have it at their head office. However, a little bit of digging, and you can see in a little clip from Paul McCartney doing a tribute to Spike Milligan, which was shown a few years ago on British TV. He's sitting with a, it must have been about 2010, thinking about it, because there's a big advert for the Red and Blue albums reissue behind him. And he's sitting there with a guitar, but if you look behind him where the big advert is for the Red and Blue reissues, there is the railing, the banister that they leant over. So I think Paul still has it at his studio. So inside the gatefold sleeve, the photo was the same in the red and the blue. It's of a black and white photo of the Beatles' Mad Day Out session, where they went around London with a load of photographers and got loads of pictures taken in various locations. One of the locations was St Pancras Churchyard in London, as I said, in 1968. Here's the picture. This is the new box set version of the picture, and as you can see, it's black and white. Spot the Beatles in the crowd there. And this was the norm picture that we were used to in all of the Red and Blue albums. And then as time has passed, colour photos of the same session in the same location have now emerged. Hopefully I can find one. I'll put it on the screen now. But it makes you wonder, why use a black and white photo for the inside when you've got these fantastic colour photos? It's just one of their mysteries, I guess. I actually prefer the colour photo, and I do wish that they'd have used it. So looking back at the original Red and Blues, there were differences in issues in the releases, mainly between the UK and the US editions. So the variations sort of are, and the US one, for example, is they've both got help on the Red album, but the American ears were used to hearing the little James Bond theme that appeared on the American album just before the song started, and it was included in the original American Red album releases, probably, and Canada too. I think I've got a Canadian copy up there, and I think it's on that as well. However, the British copy just has the straight single where it just goes straight into the song with no James Bond intro. Other differences are, with the exception of Love Me Do, all of the songs on the UK Red album are in stereo. Love Me Do was a mono release, and I think the original stereo tracks have been lost in the midst of time, and all I've got is this mono to work from. But in the US, they had 5 mono tracks. Why didn't they use the British masters? I'm guessing it's all to do with what Capitol had, because if you remember, the Beatles had some stuff out in the UK before Capitol picked them up, and they were used for smaller record companies. So I'm guessing all Capitol had were these mono versions of these of the stereo tracks that we got over here in the UK. Let's move on now. Let's come up bang up to date, 2023, and what have they done to the Red and the Blue album? Well, I can tell you what they've done. They have remixed them in stereo and in Dolby Atmos, if you have this Dolby technology. I wish they'd put it out as 5.1 surround Blu-ray discs, but it looks like that's now old hat, and we're never ever going to get another Blu-ray 5.1 surround sound. So people with Atmos, why not make some Blu-rays of your 5.1 surround from your Atmos? That would be awesome. The albums themselves have been expanded. So the Red album now has a further 12 tracks added to it from the original, and the Blue album has a further 9 tracks added to it from the original, giving a more complete sort of view of the Beatles canon. Covering, because you've got more tracks from Revolver and the White Album, which were missing from those original albums. There's even differences now between the CD and streaming version as there is to the vinyl version. And I hadn't really realised this. I'd sort of heard people talking about track listings being in the wrong order and things, but I hadn't really paid any attention to it. I've been playing my vinyl, and basically the vinyl comes as exactly the same track list running order as the originals, and then you get an extra bonus disc, one in the red, one in the blue, with the extra track. So you get a 12 track disc in the Red album and a 9 track disc in the Blue album. And then, as I say, I heard all these rumblings about people complaining about track listing. I went on to streaming, listened to it on Spotify if I'm traveling around, which obviously I can't listen to the record, so I listen to it on Spotify, and I can see what they're saying. The new tracks are mixed in with the original tracks to make it in chronological order, which for me makes far more sense. I do not understand why these bonus tracks were issued as bonus discs. They should have just done what they've done with the CD and the streaming, and put it out in chronological order. I don't know if they were upsetting about they were worried about upsetting precious Beatle fans' views of how I want it how it was originally or whatever. The old ones are still out there, so that's a non-starter for a start. So I do not understand whose idea it was to put these out as separate discs, and I think it's wrong. Let's take a look at these remixes, and for me, these are the things that I really enjoy about the new issues, because I love hearing new stuff in Beatles records, in old Beatles records that I hadn't heard before. It's always been there. It's been buried amongst all the the murkiness of trying to bounce tracks down, and I love hearing remixes purely because it's like hearing a new version of the same stuff. And that's, for me, that's what I enjoy. And if you watch my video about Tug of War, that was the biggest disappointment. Seeing it advertised as a remixed Tug of War album, and I couldn't tell any difference. It was, anyway, I digress again. Let's get back to the Red and the Blue. So yeah, for me, hearing old favourite Beatles songs with new bits in them, new guitar work, new different drumming that I never heard before, different sound effects, you know which one I'm coming on to in a minute. For me, when I see remix, I'm excited because I know I'm going to be hearing stuff that I'm very aware of and know sort of inside out, but now with new added extra stuff. So that's the bit I really enjoy. So Giles Martin has been able to remix the tracks using Peter Jackson's MAL technology. So for those of you who are not in the know, and I'm sure everyone knows this technology now, MAL technology basically was developed, and you can now, from a single track on a tape, extract individual sounds. So voices, guitars, instruments, even down to individual drums on a drum kit. You can now take them out and you can now give them their own track and then remix it properly instead of having to bounce down. So for those of you who don't know about bouncing down, you've got 4 tracks. So you record 1 instrument, 2 instruments, 3 instruments, and then you mix all of those down to 1 track. You bounce it down to 1 track, which then leaves you another 3 tracks to record new stuff on, so that you then record over the stuff that you've already recorded because you've got it saved on this other track. So then you record 1 instrument, 2 instruments, mix them down, and now you've got 2 more tracks, and that way, that's how 4-track recording works. These days, obviously, you can have as many tracks as you like, and that's the problem, that they only recorded using those 4 tracks, and all the instruments were, you know, the drums were buried in with the bass and the guitar. And that's why when you listen to stereo, all they had was like the voices, the vocals over one side, the guitars over there, and the drums in the middle, or something like that. Nowadays, they can give it a much more balanced view, and certainly on these new versions, even down to Ringo's drum kit, you can hit a snare over that side and a cymbal over that side and a bass drum in the middle. It's fantastic. Anyway, that's the MAL technology, and Giles Martin, George Martin's son, was then able to use this technology to extract the tracks and then give a proper full over makeover of these tracks that we all know and love. Now there's an elephant in the room. Well, more of a walrus than an elephant. The most controversial remix that I have seen in social media has got to be the new I'm the Walrus mix, and particularly the ending. People are hating it, people are loving it. Basically, obviously, using this MAL technology, they've extracted every sound that George Martin was able to hear, and Giles was then able to make a new mix. So you still hear all the Lear speeches and the, you know, oompa, stick it up your jumper and all that. But he's now able to mix it so it comes in at different places, it's louder or it's quieter, and it's a completely different ending. And this has divided the Beatle community down the middle. Some love it, some hate it, and some are like, yeah, I don't really care. For me, if I want to hear the original, I've got the original. I love the new version because it's new, and if I want to hear the new version, I'll listen to the new version. So all these people, oh, it's dreadful, you know, sacrilege and all that. The old versions are still out there. They haven't gone anywhere. Dig out your old Blue album, dig out your old Magical Mystery Tour, dig out your old, you know, single, what was it, on Hello Goodbye or whatever it was. If you want the original version, it's still there. For others, like me, who enjoy the new version, we've now got that, and we can enjoy both. So please, no more divisiveness about this new version. You know, you've still got the old one, enjoy the new one as well. All it is, it's just a different version. It's nothing other than that. It's a new version. So other standout remixes for me, particularly on the Red album, it's the early stuff, as I explained earlier with the MAL technology. To hear these new mixes, so you can hear all of George's guitar work or Lennon's vocals or Ringo's drumming or whatever. Even now, having Love Me Do in stereo, which was incidentally the B-side, the stereo mix was the B-side of Now and Then. To hear that, it's great. You know, as I said with Walrus, we've still got the original Love Me Do's, but for me, it's great to be able to hear all those instruments properly in a proper mix. So all those early albums, the With the Beatles or Meet the Beatles, the Please Please Me, even Rubber Soul, which hasn't had a remix yet. For me to be able to hear those clear, it's fantastic, and I really enjoy it. Other social media comments about this new set, I see people commenting, about these new mixes, saying, well, if they've done remixes for some of the Rubber Soul tracks and Revolver tracks and Help and Hard Day's Night, and why haven't they put these new albums out? If they've done some, why not do them all? Well, skeptical me has a theory. Now, my skeptical theory, and this is only my theory, I may be wrong, however, my skeptical theory is they are already remixed or in the process of being remixed. And then once they are ready to go, they will go. And thinking about Apple, if they want to grab as much money as they can from the fans, and they probably do, each remixed album will be released, and then a box set of the album, remixed album, the original album, any associated singles and bonus material will come out in a nice glossy deluxe box set. Wait a minute, they're already doing that. Watch this space. I tell you now, we will see remixed versions of all of the albums. It's on the cards. It's got to be. Seeing what Apple have done in recent years, they just want to grab as much money. And I know, you don't have to buy it. You're right, you don't have to buy it. However, you and I both know there are some collectors some fans who have to have absolutely everything. And I hold my hand up. I'm guilty of this at times. Not every time. I don't go out and buy every version. I have in the past, but these days money's a bit tight, so I can't afford. I still haven't even bought the Revolver box set because I'm waiting for the price to come down on the vinyl. And I would have bought the CD, but there was no 5.1 surround DVD or Blu-ray in it, so I'm not even going to bother with that. Just wait for the vinyl price to come down, and it will. I'll find it one day. Anyway, so you and I both know that these box sets are going to be coming out. Mark my words, we will be getting box sets releases of all these of the albums with these new remixes. Another social media gripe that I often see when I'm trawling Facebook or Twitter or Insta. I'm not too much on Insta, but certainly Facebook. Another gripe I see from fans is the lack of a remixed Free as a Bird and a remixed Real Love using this male technology, and why it wasn't included in the Red and the Blue albums. Well, I look at it in a different way. Why would they be included in the Red and the Blue albums? In my mind, Now and Then shouldn't have been included in it. The title is The Beatles 1962 to 1966 and The Beatles 1967 to 1970. Now and Then has come out as a single. The people who bought the single aren't also, unless you're a fan and want these box sets, the Red and Blue box set, Joe Public in the street, if they wanted to buy Now and Then, they'll buy the single. They are not going to buy £150 worth of box set just for Now and Then. It doesn't fit on there. It does fit along with Free as a Bird and Real Love on Anthology. Okay, now my theory is we're getting a new anthology. I would not be at all surprised if we're getting a new anthology, remastered, remixed, maybe new DVDs, Blu-rays, whatever. Disney streaming? Maybe. Yeah, Free as a Bird, Real Love, Now and Then should not be on the Red and Blue album. It should be on Anthology when it comes out remastered. As I say, this is only my theory, and I don't see why would they not redo Anthology. You know, it's there, it's practically already done. I'm sure there's lots of stuff. Well, I actually know there's lots of stuff that wasn't included in the final edit. So there is new stuff out there which that can be included, expanded, clean the video up, clean the audio up, bang, put it out. Anthology 1, you know, Free as a Bird. Anthology 2, Real Love, and then Anthology 3. Why not put Now and Then on there instead of that, the beginning or whatever it was? Yeah, some nonsense that didn't really belong there. Makes you wonder, did they have an idea for Now and Then to go on there and it just wasn't ready? They just could not get it done, and hence it never came out back then in the 90s. Now we come to my thoughts on this new Red and Blue box set albums. My take on the set. When I heard that they were reissuing Red and Blue with Now and Then, I was like, what's the point? It's already been out umpteen times. We've had a remaster. What is the point? I'm not going to buy it. I just don't see the point. However, hearing that those early songs were going to be mixed properly, and you know, new songs added in that weren't in the original album issues, I am now in total agreement that it was the right thing to do. I love it. I love it as a box set. You know, and I'm pleased I went for the coloured vinyl box set, purely because it comes in a nice case, protects it a little bit more, sits on the shelf nice. There is black vinyl available, but I'm like, well, why go for black when I can have nice red and blue? Who knows? I might pick up the black vinyl and the CD. I haven't even bought the CD of it. Might pick up the black vinyl and the CD box set later on, when I think it's probably going to be a little bit cheaper. Later on, if ever I see it at a reasonable price, then I'll pick it up. But I am really pleased that I went for that red and blue vinyl box set. I have a couple of gripes about it. On the whole, I'm happy. Don't get me wrong, I'm happy. I do have a couple of little gripes. I would have liked a booklet included, maybe with the photos, you know, from the sessions. You know, you could have had some of the outtakes for the balcony. You could have included some of the other Mad Day Out pictures, particularly the ones in St Pancras Churchyard. That would have been nice. Why? I'll show you this. Why have they crammed 3 LPs into a gatefold sleeve? It just does not make sense. Why not give us like a little extra sleeve? I don't know how they could have done it, but I just don't like cramming 3 of them into effectively a double album sleeve, and they've crammed 3 in. I didn't show you this earlier, but there are new booklets. There we are. So all you've got is a double-sided pictures there, and as I say, there's no pictures from the outtakes of the balcony. You know, a nice bit of writing there. It gives you something to read. But yeah, in my mind, they shouldn't have wedged 3 LPs into a double album. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be getting some nice inner sleeves to replace those ones. I will be taking them out of the box set, but storing them next to it and just putting those sleeves in the box cover, because I can see that getting ruined if I'm playing it a lot. And at the moment I am playing it a lot because I'm enjoying the new mixes. I might go back to the old ones, but you know, I've got them both now. What am I going to take away from? There's one massive thing I'm going to take away from hearing this new box set, and that is Ringo is one hell of a drummer. I've never really heard his drumming when I've played the original sets, because the drums have been buried with all the other instruments on top. You listen to these, particularly on headphones. I've listened to them both on headphones and speakers, but if you can hear them on headphones, it raised my appreciation of Ringo's drumming 1,000,000%, because I had not realised. I'm not a drummer. Not really a musician. I play guitar, but I'm not really a musician. Certainly not a drummer. And I hadn't realised how good Ringo was at his drumming. His little fills, his drumming, he's on the timing. All I can say is I have a newfound admiration for Ringo and his drumming techniques. And and now you can hear it spread over the recordings in this set. So you'll have the bass drum in one, and as I said earlier, snare and a cymbal in other ones. So for me, that is the biggest takeaway from this set, as well as enjoying these new sets and the new mixes. Ringo is one hell of a drummer. Let me know what you think to these sets. Let me know what you think to my video. Just stick it in the comments below. I read every single comment and I respond to the ones that I think need responding. Thank you very much for watching. By now there's probably some videos popping up here for you to look at. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.